Welcome to the Crosscheck, the squawk sheet that uncovers the stories, challenges, and careers shaping business aviation today. I'm your host, Rob Hoffman. Today, we're thrilled to welcome back Joe Peebles to the show. Joe is not only a successful biz av entrepreneur, but also a dedicated advocate for veterans transitioning to civilian life. From his journey building JP Aeronautics from the ground up to founding the impactful initiative Hire Vets, Joe's story is one of resilience, innovation, and an unwavering commitment. Join us as we explore his inspiring path and the lessons he's learned along the way. Joe Peebles, welcome to the Crosscheck. It's been just a little while, but it's good to see you here.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
So, as usual, as we try to set up this interview, Joe AOG, it seems like that must be your middle name. So, talk to us about what's been going on in your life since last we spoke to you, besides being really, really busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do this. I used to do this a lot on my podcast and be like, well, I started to record or started to schedule something and I had to reschedule. So this is round two. I appreciate you guys' patience. Just been really busy with work. We just acquired a hangar for JP Aero down in Noonan. And so looking to sublease that out to owners, operators, and also do a little bit of maintenance in there. But man, just trying to get healthy, trying to stay strong, and yeah, just working on it.
Well, listen, as an entrepreneur, your story is impressed. We can rehash some of the stuff that we discussed in the last time you were on the show. But obviously you're a veteran. You started Hire Vets. We'll talk more about that as well. You've got JP Aeronautics, started with what, like an oxygen bottle in the back of your car, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So where are you right now? Where's the maintenance? Talk to us about your career trajectory and growth so that maybe others that are listening in right now can kind of be inspired or take notes.
Okay. Well, I can tell you what we're doing now. We're doing AOG maintenance for 135 operators primarily. Anybody who's doing charter with their jets and they're in the southeast region of the U.S. We primarily service basically Nashville down to Panama City, Charleston out to Memphis. That big old, it's like a 6 hour loop right there. We got a couple vans, got about four guys that work around the clock. And we're 24/7 call. So you call us at 2 a.m. We might not be able to get on the road at 2 a.m., but we can definitely be out there on the way first thing in the morning. But yeah, man, and we service the Bahamas as well. And we've done Sicily, we've done Cancun, Mexico. So we've done a couple of locations now. Got our customers out of a bind when they couldn't find any support. And then a couple times we've gone in to kind of just finish up the job because they needed some extra support there as well.
And that sounds awesome. I love to hear the growth right now. Talk to us more from a different perspective as a small business owner. Hanging your own shingle, hiring your own employees, growth, managing people. Talk to us about that experience, where you are and where you're going, because you're still turning a wrench as well, right? You're doing it all.
Yeah. I think there's a misconception it's like your overnight success. Like one day you're working and the next day you're not. The
Yeah.
truth is you can have a broad vision of where you want your company to be. You can have a broad vision of how you want your company to operate, core values, systems, processes, and all of that. But until you build out a team, you're going to be doing this for the foreseeable future until you can hire guys. And that's a whole other thing is you got to be able to afford to hire guys as well
Yeah.
because nobody's
The
going to
good
work
ones.
for free.
Yeah.
You got to be able to budget it. This is not my first rodeo with building a team. We did have a team. I had a pretty strong team. We had eight mechanics with two extra 1099 contractors. And I thought that I was building the team correctly. My overhead was absolutely outrageous. Where everybody was on a salary and I was trying to just be a good boss. And I was doing what I thought a good boss needed to do. But the truth is it's bad business. And so you gotta figure out how to be a good boss and run a good business where you're actually profitable. I think one month it was the best month we had. It was like we grossed $150,000 that month. I spent $162,000 that month. The math ain't mathing. And so you got to learn how that goes. That was a tough time, man. I didn't know if we were going to claim bankruptcy. I woke up one day, we had a couple of issues there. I maxed out all my credit cards. I had maxed out my line of credit. My line of credit actually called me. The bank called me and said,
Oof.
we're not giving you any more money. And I had about $110,000 out on that line of credit, two $50,000 credit cards maxed out. Man, I thought we were going to go bankrupt. And then I get a call from a customer and they say, "Hey, our part is missing." I'm like, "Well, what part?" It was a core return. I was like, "Well, how much is the part?" And they're like, 300 grand. And I was like, "What?" And so I'm like sweating, this is about maybe 3.5 years ago. And I really didn't know the future of the business or future of JP Aero, what we were looking at, or if I was just going to claim bankruptcy and go find a job. In all honesty, I didn't know how I was going to make payroll because I was pulling from the line of credit to make payroll, because business is moving slow. Most of my customers, that one customer that had that part was my biggest customer. They're bringing in 90% of my revenue. And after that happened, they disappeared. And so now we've got no clientele coming in, no business coming in. Marketing has been terrible. And I had a team of 8 guys that I had to pay still, so I had to have some serious conversations with everybody on the team. And it ends up everybody kind of rolled out, understandably, right? Um, I didn't fire anybody. I gave them the option to stay, give me a couple weeks and we'll make sure that everybody gets paid. But everybody left. And so now I'm sitting there with about five to $700,000 in debt. And I've got my 2 trucks. I've got a lease that I'm in for a building. I've got a lot of work starting to come in, and it's just Joe once again. And so I felt bad for myself for about 3 to 5 days, somewhere around there. I was just sitting in my house having a pity party about it. And then one day I woke up and I was like, well, shit, nobody's going to fix this except for me. And I'm real stubborn. So I did not want to claim bankruptcy, mostly because of probably pride and ego.
Sure.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to feel like a failure, even though I felt like a resounding failure. I got on the phone, started blasting all my customers, dropped our rates, got in my van and hit the road. And I was basically gone for 7 months, on the road every day. My wife and my kids basically lived their lives and I lived my life for that time frame, and we called and talked to each other, but I was not around, period. Man, we got back to green in almost a year. So back to green, started fresh, and I've really been hesitant about the hiring process, finding new people, and just being super smart about it, trying to not just grow so fast. Because if you look at other companies, you look at a company like Stevens Aerospace has been here for 70 years. They've got hundreds of people working for them. And then you look at a smaller company that's been here, local. I think there's a couple companies here. They probably got 20 guys, but they've been here for almost 2 decades. And so I cut back my idea of what success looks like into like a reality standpoint, and have looked, we're probably going to hire 1 to 2 mechanics a year tops for the next 3 to 5 years until I know that that process works, and just try to be really smart with our finances.
Did you find it's a maturity thing now with all these lessons learned that's kind of helping you make these strategic decisions? When you were younger, were you just going for broke? What were the mistakes that you clearly made that you've learned from that you're incorporating now into your new strategy?
Well, it's take risk, but assess the risk first. Understand your risk and understand what you're risking. I think that's really it. I don't know if it's a maturity thing or if it's just a fail fast idea that I have, like fail fast so I can learn fast. And I was shooting for
And
broke,
maybe that
man.
was part of the winning formula, right? Maybe that was exactly it, that you had to kind of
Yeah.
come in there, make mistakes. It sounds like the stress, I mean, knowing your previous stories here, it seems like you're maybe you don't like it, but you're accustomed to dealing with stress. But it sounds hair raising, especially as a family guy. There's the business, there's the ego, there's your family, there's a lot going on here. This is not for the faint of heart. It seems like you've turned it around right now, right? So where are you
Yeah.
going? So you're gonna strategy is to grow slow right now.
Yeah. Grow slow, just be smart, build a solid team, find some guys that want to work. And right now I've got 4 guys that are pretty solid, man. And then I've got my executive assistant who handles all my back end stuff. And then I've got my accountant who handles all the money stuff, right? So I can focus on setting up processes and making sure that the team is following the processes and training and all that. And we're also putting in for a 145 repair station. So kind of working with the FAA. I've done that before when I was working for other companies, so it's something that I'm used to. But it's a lot different writing it for yourself, because you've got to come up with all the plans and the processes and understand that this is the way we do it and this is why we do it. And then I've got to be able to teach that and explain that to guys and be like, this is why this is important, you know. Uh,
And we talked about in the previous episode of mentorship, right? And understanding that people don't know what you know and that you maybe have to go about it differently. I mean, has that also helped you grow as a leader now as you're bringing new people on and training them that maybe you didn't quite have those skills when you were first hiring in the first place?
yeah, I'll tell you the biggest lesson I learned during that time frame with the guys is I was I was too nice. And it's not even being nice. It's like I was a coward. I didn't want to have the conversation. I didn't want the conflict, right? I didn't want the conflict to happen. I wanted to be the cool boss, the cool guy, the good boss, and everybody loves working for me, but not everybody's going to love working for you. So just get over it, have the conversation. There's got to be some tact with the conversation. And I do it pretty simply, man. If I have to chastise somebody or we have to have a serious conversation, I'm just honest with them, man. I'm brutally honest with them. I say, hey, man, I've never had this conversation. I've never had to do this. So me and you're going to have this conversation. I'm open to any feedback after this, but we've got to have this talk. And that kind of opens up the floor for me, you know?
You're learning together. You're doing this together. It's not just, you know, your learning curve. They're also learning and they need to understand that you're learning, right?
Yeah. And, I don't think I do everything right the first time. In fact, most of the time it's the third time. Every school that I took in the military and everything that I did prior to that, I've failed at least 3 times before I got it right, and I probably still fail after the
At
3rd
least you're
time.
consistent, Joe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
You
it
know,
is what it is.
there's something about learning through failure though that's so much more valuable than just picking it up the first time, I think. I have not experienced as much as you've taken us through here, but I know, even as simple as taking a test for a certification, I learned more from failing the test 3 times and having to go back and regurgitate and figure out the stuff that I got wrong to then pass on the 4th time than I did taking the class for that test, and sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah, but listen, it's also, that what does not kill you makes you stronger. Everyone knows that saying, but Joe, you came pretty damn close,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
the story could have
yeah,
ended differently.
yeah, it sure could have, and sometimes I wonder, like, did I make the right choice? Should I just have quit, because this stuff is not easy, man, and you just gotta I guess you just but in all honesty, nothing is easy, and so this is
Yeah.
just my path. It doesn't matter if you work for somebody. Jobs suck sometimes. That's why they call it work, not fun, right? It just is what it is. And if you've got a good boss and you've got a good company, they're going to challenge you at points to move out of your comfort zone, right?
Although, Joe, I'm gonna pivot on this one a little bit. Another one of these. I'm just bringing up all these lame cliches, but you enjoy what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life. Um, do you still love what you do right now?
Sometimes, yeah, for sure, man. I do, man. I love the idea of being able to support myself. And that was the goal. When I lost my job at Gulfstream in 2015, I told myself, I've got to find a way to be my own bank. And that's what I've created. I've not had to rely on any outside source to pay me since 2020 when I quit all of my jobs. And it was just JP Aero, 100%. And so I'm doing what I did. I'm showing my kids that you can fend for yourself, and I've not had to reach outside. And we've gone on vacations, we've done things, not a lot, but our bills are paid, and we're doing all right. So, I can't complain. I'd probably actually be making more money. I know I would be making more money if I was working for somebody else right now, but that's okay. I'm making enough money, and I'm putting in the work so that one day maybe I'll be able to make more, but it is what it is at the
Yeah, I
time.
mean, you listen to every startup founder out there, and no vacations, no weekends off, and good luck with the family as well. It can be really challenging, And like you said there, it's like there's almost no such thing as an overnight success. It takes typically 10 years for someone to become an overnight success.
Something I've learned over my time in professional and adult life is sometimes the best happens when you have your back against the wall and you kind of have to do something, right? It sounds like you've experienced that and that has projected you to where you are right now. Who, if anyone, was there to kind of help pick you up, or were you just like, this is me, I got to figure it out? There's no help for Joe Peebles except for Joe Peebles. Mentors or people from your past or anybody, obviously, I mean, besides your family, kind of just motivating you to get out there and get shit done.
I would say the only person would be my wife, right? Um, was there, right? Everybody else, I mean, everybody kind of knew what was going on, but they didn't know. I was really not verbal about where we were, you know, and so my wife has had my back since the get. For me to walk in and say, "Hey, I'm quitting all my jobs today," and I'm quitting all of our jobs today. We're losing insurance today, and I'm gonna go make this work for us. And for her to turn around and be like, "Okay, go ahead. I trust you with our three kids and our house mortgage and our car payments and our groceries and all this other stuff." We were going. Me and my wife knew that we were really struggling, and I wanted to make sure we had a good Christmas dinner for our employees. And so we had no money to do it. We had nothing going on. My wife literally cooked all the meals, and we bootstrapped enough money together to go and buy a couple of things for a white elephant, and we had this Christmas dinner. And then not soon after that, everybody had to go. And she was there with me. And when I was sitting in the house, freaking having my pity party about life, she was there with me. And when I decided to get back up and get back on the horse and start riding, she was there with me. She called me and said, "Don't worry about the family. We got it. I got this." And so, but she definitely is my ride or die. Other than that, man, most people were like, "Well, what are you going to do?" Just kind of, so
Yeah.
I didn't tell a lot of people we were going through that. I just kind of suppressed it all inside and dealt with it.
And is that what it's
So
always that's such a typical thing, right? When people are and I think this is once again why you're helping people with higher vets is when you're stressed out and things are going bad, you don't want to share that with people. It really helps. You're lucky you have sounds like an extraordinary partner. And she really kind of helped guide you along here because, just think about if she wasn't there for you. Not every not every partner's like that. So, it's like she really helped you and propped you up when the chips were down, and that's amazing. It's hard to share these things with people when things are not going your way, and I
yeah,
think that's how people spiral. So, once again, that's why
yeah.
you're doing extraordinary work with higher vets.
Yeah.
My wife
Excellent. Well,
bought me.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife bought me a little gift. It hangs up on my wall right beside my bed, and it says, "You didn't wake up today to be a little bitch." And so that's kind of my motto.
Oh, man.
She's
I'm gonna
pretty
have to buy
great,
one for
man.
myself.
Always,
Well, I
Yeah,
think everyone needs
always
that
there
reminder
for
every
you.
once in
Yeah,
a while.
love
It's
that.
that pity party, right? Just stop. Stop doing it. Believe in yourself. Easier said than done.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
whatever it takes. Sometimes it takes a village. Sometimes and often it takes the help of others to help
Yeah,
get you where you need to go, especially
yeah,
during when times are tough. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
this trajectory you're on right now with all the lessons learned sound like you've primed yourself for success and you're heading in the right direction. And, you've dealt with all the bumps along the way and it sounds like you're doing well. But of course, you being you, Joe, you're not content. All right, I've got my hands full with this business. I almost filed for bankruptcy 5 years ago. All right, I've rebuilt. I'm doing terrific. I'm expanding. How can I make myself more busy? Oh, that's right. I'm going to find myself a not for profit. So talk to us more about higher vets and what's going on over there right now.
yeah, man. So Higher Vets, we officially opened about a year and a half ago, and my goal with Higher Vets is to help veterans transition out of the military into civilian life. And really, it's an integration. I don't think that I'll say it like this: most veterans they join the military at 18, and their entire adult life is in the military, and so it's not like a reintegration back into civilian life. It's like you got to learn how to be a civilian. It's a
It's an
lot different.
integration.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a 100% you're moving into something new. And so what we've been doing with Higher Vets, and the main goal is just help mentor active duty service members that are getting out of the military in that transition process. My good friend Pat and a couple of other people that I've met over the past couple of years. I mean, we know the stats. There's people committing suicide because they've hit this spiral of not being able to fit the mold or how to find their space, like find their footing on the civilian track. And so we're here to help them catch them before they hit that fall.
These sort of stories, by the way, just to interject real fast, typically
Yeah.
attributed to PTSD. Is it bigger than that? Is it more just also just because you've been institutionalized and you have a real hard time relating to the civilian world?
Yeah, I think so. It took me a long time to kind of grasp where I'm at. And I was just talking to a good friend of mine the other day. He got out and didn't have a job by his terminal release date. And that day came and he was wigging out. Like he was literally losing his mind. And so he actually went back to the recruiter and said, "Hey, I want to join the military again," and started filling out the paperwork. And on the way home, he actually got a call from the job that he applied for 3 weeks earlier. And they're like, "All right, you can get the job." And he said if he didn't get that call, he'd be back in the military, because it's scary. It's a scary transition. And, you're supposed to be Billy Badass, I guess, if you're in the military, you're supposed to have this hardcore exterior, but man, inside it's a frightening transition, just like any other transition in life is a scary. Going to college is a little scary. Leaving college is a little scary. Joining the military is pretty crazy. Getting out of the military is crazy too. You gotta figure
Mhm.
out who you are and what you're doing.
For anybody when they get to that point, I mean, for you, I don't know when you left the military exactly as far as what age, but it seems like you've had your feet underneath you well enough since then. But for a lot of people, right, when you hit that like 25, 26 year mark and you're finally actually out on your own, you don't have, whether it's school, your parents, or the military telling you what to do, when to eat, what to wear, you have to then figure all that shit out for yourself. That's got to be the hardest part, right? So, especially when you've been exactly like, because your clothes are what they provide you, the food is what they provide you, your mission is what they tell you to do, and then now you've got to figure all that out for yourself. How much of that is the stress and the anxiety in this first step, leaving the military into civilian life?
Well, I'll start out by saying this: it's not impossible, right? For you to get out and transition and make it happen, it's it's not impossible at all. There's hundreds of thousands of people out here in the civilian sector that are killing it. My thing is, it's taken me almost 2 decades to figure this out, right? Well, 2 decades, that really aged me. Hold on. 1 decade. It's taken me
Wow.
You
one
don't you don't
decade.
have
over here,
enough
Joe.
gray in your beard. Yeah, you're
it's,
good.
it's been 1 decade for me to figure out kind of like, okay, now I'm catching my stride. I'm starting to understand where I'm at. And, life happens and most people are pretty resilient. I think that by creating higher events, I've created a space for people to kind of get there a little quicker, get that understanding before they get out. And so we do webinars. We do one webinar a month, and we're about to start doing two webinars a month. And we're talking to active duty service members who are about 2 years to 1 year get it before they get out of the military. And, we're talking to them about what the transition is going to be like, what type of job, we're talking to a lot of aviation people right now. So we're talking about what they're doing in the military and how that transitions to the civilian sector and how they can make that happen. But I can tell you right now, sometimes we're talking about, I think the first couple calls, people are like, "Well, what can I do when I get out?" And they're like, "Oh, you can go be a dispatcher. You can be QC. You can be QA. You can go to the FAA. You can find a job at a flight department. You can go to FlexJet. You can go to these different companies. You can go to a charter company. You can go to a Part 91 owner." And you can see their mind is just like, and you can see their eyes start to really just glaze over because of all the decisions that they didn't even
Too many
realize they had.
options, yeah.
Too many options, right? There's so
Yeah.
many options, and they've got to figure this out. And now they're like, "Holy crap, what am I going to do when I get out?" And it's a lot better to realize that 2 years from getting out or 1 year from getting out, except instead of the day you get out,
Day
right?
of.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
day of, like everybody else that I know, that's when it hit us like, holy crap, I got to figure out what I want to do with my life.
It's very analogous right now. Your story actually post-military, working for Gulfstream, nice cushy staff job. Then all of a sudden one day, poof, you're gone. You're made redundant or we're having, cutbacks and we're gonna have to let you go. And there you are all of a sudden like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And you chose to obviously become an entrepreneur, which is this incredible added stress. A lot of people are like this in the civilian world. They've had a staff job for many, many, many years, and then you feel like you're going to be taken care of for the rest of your life. Maybe you like your job, maybe you don't like it. You're just mailing it in. You're just kind of treading water, but you're still comfortable. It's like that old comfortable sock, and it can really be a very, very stressful situation to suddenly be out there in the cold and wonder what the hell's going on. What am I going to do? I haven't really thought about this. And it seems like from everything you're explaining, Joe, that in the military, it's like tenfold that way because military life is tough. I'm a vet myself, and I know it's like people just love to complain, and there's the military way of doing things. It drives people nuts. Some people do really love it, but a lot of people, love it and then kind of hate it at the same time. I'm out of here. I want to get out of here. Anything's better than this. Then when all of a sudden you're out there, like, holy crap, I'm not being taken care of anymore. At least I knew my purpose and where I belonged, and I was going to be taken care of. And now I'm completely on my own. How am I gonna pay the rent? How am I gonna put food on the table? Like, these are questions this is why I think there's a lot of percentage of the homeless population who are ex-vets as well, who are really stumped hard. And like you said, people succeed. Many, many, many vets succeed, but there is a sizable percentage of the population there which needs a little help or maybe a lot of help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you're not just left out trying to figure out like, no, you don't have that backup anymore, but you also lose your friend group almost immediately.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. I didn't even think about that part.
That's a huge part. For me, it was like my entire friend group, and I didn't even like seeing in the military. So, like, I was I was what you consider a fat body in the military, right? So, I ran 8 miles a day because I was overweight, and they made me run, and they made me do PT twice a day, and they watched what I ate and all this stuff. And
This is while
I
you're a
could
regular and active duty. You're not talking about it during basic training.
no, this is active duty. I hurt my back. I was airborne, so I jumped out of airplanes. I tweaked my back pretty bad on one of the jumps, and never recovered from that really because they were making me do PT tests. I never got that actually looked at correctly until I got
Yeah.
out. So about 4 years on the pathway program, in all honesty. And so, you know, my nickname, I can't say that. You probably have to bleep it out, so I'm not going to say it. But but yeah,
We
man.
have
So
we have no bosses here. You can
okay,
say what
good.
you mean to say.
Well, my nickname in the military was Fat Fuck, and that's what my sergeant major called me. And he would call the office and be like, "Hey, Fat Fuck, get him on the phone now."
Oh my
And
god.
so that was me the entire. I couldn't get promoted. I couldn't. So I hated it, but I had a really good friend group. Um,
Run that by HR in any place in corporate America and see how that flies. The military is
No.
its own special place. That's
yeah,
for sure.
it really is. But you lose your friend group, and that's one thing that we're creating with Higher Vets as a community
Oh,
of
that's great. That's wonderful.
not only active duty service members, but also veterans who've gone through the process or maybe need the help, right? And so that's what these webinars are creating. Eventually, I'd like for these webinars to become face-to-face meetups with groups in different regions, right? But right now, it's the webinars. We started out with 2 people on the call. We ended up with 5 people on the call. Right now, we're doing about 20 people a call. And we expect that to start to grow considerably because we've had all pilots on the calls. Now we're starting to get pilots, flight crew, mechanics, dispatchers, QC. They're all starting to hop on the call. So we're going to start splitting those calls up into different,
Like
I
kind of
guess,
breakout groups. Yeah.
Yeah,
breakout groups, have
cohort.
sessions.
Yeah, give it. Yeah,
And so,
that's awesome.
yeah, man, I'm absolutely loving it. We're actually creating a lot of impact with these calls. We're having people who know business aviation and know how to write resumes and know what that transition feels like. They're coming on the call, and we are asking these guys to come to the calls and ask us questions so that we can answer whatever questions you have now. But we're also creating a network for that person who's active and who's about to get out, who has no network whatsoever. Something that me and you talk about quite a bit, Ian, is
All the
networking,
time. Yeah.
right? And so creating that network environment and making that community something that you can fall back on. Because once you're in higher vets, you're in higher vets till you die. You're here.
Awesome. Awesome.
And so really excited about that. The webinars are really where it's at. That's what we're putting most of our focus to in 2025 and 2026 is to keep that consistent, bring on guests that want to be a part of that community, that want to mentor other individuals and hopefully open up some eyes before people start to get out.
That's great. It's like a post-military fraternity. Yeah, that's amazing. Just out
Alpha
of
Beta.
curiosity, with your affiliation of NBAA, I believe you're launching something called Military Connect. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, for sure. Last year, I was at a BAMC meeting, Business Aviation Management Committee. Went to their meeting right before NBAA, and they gave me the floor to talk about higher vets. And through that conversation, NBAA was like, we'll partner with you. We want to create something called Military Connect. And so this is the inaugural year for Military Connect being at NBAA base. They've actually tried this before. They have a really big initiative. They want to help military members, and they've partnered with us, and higher vets is basically running the recruitment side to get butts in the seats
Are you
for
gonna have
it.
a booth? Are you gonna have a booth at base
No,
this
we're
year?
not going to have a booth this year. We had the option, but I don't have enough volunteers, so that's not happening. But we are hosting the Military Connect, which we're going to have. I don't know if you've been to base, Rob.
I have once. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have our own venue in the venue for Military Connect. We're going to have a whole day event on October 15th. Starting out in the morning, we're having a panel discussion with navigating
All right.
civilian
That's
careers.
better than a booth.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty great,
A
man. So
lot better.
we have some really great speakers coming. We're doing a session in the morning for navigating civilian careers. What is business aviation employers and what do they really want? We're going to have a couple of pillars on that setup. And then right after that, we're doing a military meetup in the NBAA booth, which is going to be in the back. They're going to have coffee, they're going to have snacks, and they're going to have like a little networking area. I'll probably be speaking at that as well. And then in the
They've got
career zone, go ahead.
they've got a spot in there to take headshots too, don't they?
Yeah,
Might be valuable for some people just getting started as well. Get some free headshots. Take advantage of that. I love that NBAA booth and what they do with it. So that's awesome. You guys are going to be able to use that.
yeah, that's going to be from 11 to 11:45. So we're going to be in there. There's going to be a lot of other people in there. We'd like to invite all the veterans that are in BizAv to come as well, and just kind of mingle, get to know each other. Really excited about that. Then NBAA has a career zone, and they're having a career fair basically throughout the event. Well, from 12 to 5, it's going to be open for military members to come in and talk directly to recruiters and get to know them face to face, get to hand them the resume and talk to them about the jobs that are coming available. Right. Really excited about that. We're going to have a couple people in there. They're also going to be doing speed coaching with resumes. So you can walk in, hand them your resume. They can look at it really quick and go, this is crap. We need to fix this. Or this is great. Give you a couple tips. So
Yeah, I
really
love that.
excited about that. And then there's another panel discussion soon after that. And then at the end of the day, NBAA is doing a salute to the Military Connect, which I have no idea what that is. NBAA decided to do that, and I have no input. So that's all them,
But
which
you're
I'm
not
really excited
arguing.
about.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and do it, man. Knock it out. One of the really great things that we worked out with NBAA for this event specifically is if you show up in uniform or you're active duty and have a military ID, you get access to NBAA for free. So base, anyways, for free, which is a huge savings, for anybody coming in. It's massive savings. And so it's a
Not cheap ticket.
great opportunity for them to come in. And so we've been talking to people in DC. We've got emails going to every single commander in the US, letting them know, hey, this is happening. If you guys can be there in Vegas, it's a little hard because it's in the middle of the work week. But if we can get them there, they have access to the day for free. And so this is the inaugural one. If we can get 5 solid people there, I'd be really excited. But I feel like we're going to get more. I'm really
Yeah.
hoping so. Anyways, but yeah, man. So that's what we're doing with higher vets right now. NBAA is very involved. Really excited about that, and hopefully this is a win for NBAA and they've got a really big initiative. They've tried this before and it did not work. And so we're on round two. It's pre-COVID, and they've reached out and trusted Higher Vets to be one of their catalyst partners in this space. So I'm really excited about it.
I mean, you
Fantastic.
have a way of making things work, so I'm sure partnering with you guys, they've got the leg up this time around to make it a success.
Yeah,
All right.
let's hope so.
I think that just about does it for time right now, Joe. But before I let you go, I love talking to you. You're always welcome to come back on the show over here. Can
Thank
you
you.
remind the listeners at home how they can find your Hire Vets online?
It's highervets.org, HIGHER, vets, VETS.org. You can go on there. You can kind of find out what we're doing. It's a little rudimentary, but we'd love for you guys to hop on if you'd like to donate. We'd always love some donations. All that money goes to getting the brand out and making sure that we can start doing these in-person events. So yeah, we'd love to talk.
Well, clearly it's a worthy cause, and anyone that's listening right now, I second that. That's money well spent. I think you're doing an incredible mission, and now with the partners that you're aligned with, I feel like you're really going places. I think this script is still being written right now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure you're busy enough with JP Aero, but you want to let the listeners know where to find you if they go AOG and need you to run down and
Joe's
fix them up
favorite
real
term.
quick.
Yeah, just reach us at aog@jpaerotechnics.com. The phone number, it's 833-807-3131. Phone line's open 24/7. That phone either goes directly to me or directly to my dispatchers, and we'll be able to help you out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Joe, thank you so much for being on the show. As we wrap up this episode of The Crosscheck, we want to extend a heartfelt thanks to Joe Peebles for sharing his incredible journey with us. From overcoming financial hurdles to building a thriving business and supporting veterans through Hire Vets, Joe's story is a testament to perseverance and the power of community. Remember, you can learn more about Joe's work and support his mission by visiting hirevets.org. And if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to like and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And share this episode with a colleague or friend. Your review or feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us spread the word. We will see you all next week with a new episode of The Crosscheck.